So there's a time in your life when you begin to feel really old. I realise that my arms aren't long enough now to read a newspaper. I find that when I'm talking to my children, I'm saying, your music is rubbish, but my music was fantastic back in the day. But the thing that made me feel really old was when my 6-year-old son came home from school and said, "Dad, my teacher, you used to teach him." Felt very old, and I kind of spiraled into some sort of slump then. But then my son was kind of talking, and he said, "My teacher actually said you're one of the reasons he became a teacher," which is fantastic. And he cited an experience where a couple of years after he'd left the school, he came back when he was 13. Him and his friends came, and I was having a good day, and he came in, and I asked him about what he was doing. I remembered all his hobbies. I remember the things he was interested in when he was 11 and knew all the names of his friends, even knew which rubbish football team he supported. So I gave him a bit of a hard time about that. But it stuck in his memory. And later, he said that that was one of the reasons he became a teacher, was that I'd made him feel special. And I felt very proud about that. But I realised there's been other times when I haven't been so good. There's been times when I've been tired and stressed, times when I've been involved in the politics in schools, or just been irritated by things that are going on. And then I've limped into class. I've done boring lessons. I've had children come to me to tell me some things that are really important to them, and I've just brushed them away because I've been full of my own kind of stress and torment and angst and all those sorts of things. So it came to me very, very clearly that actually children have a right to be respected, to feel as if they're important. But often we get caught up in an environment at schools where actually we forget that. So what I want to do today is just talk about the factors of how to make a fantastic working environment which benefits the staff of a school, but ultimately benefits the children. So I've worked in the field of staff morale for quite some time. Worked with over 500 schools, 1,500 surveys. And the surveys encompass lots of different sort of factors. But the biggest factor there is, which determines the culture of a school, is the school leadership, particularly the principal. And a school leadership team that shows compassion for its staff, that respects its staff, shows kindness, has a massive impact on the whole school community. And the other way around too. But what I've noticed is that even where school leadership teams are doing well, are beginning to think about the staff and working with them, when they become stressed, when they put themselves under pressure, they then feed that to the staff as well. So I started an initiative which is basically coaching for stressed head teachers. So stress management for them. I developed a course called Resilient Leaders Programme, which was to encourage new heads of school, to encourage them to have healthy habits. So hopefully they wouldn't get stressed and pass it on to the members of the community. So that's one thing that school leaders should be doing, is managing their own stress as well as others. Second most important factor is communication. And communication can go wrong in lots of different ways because of the human factor. But sometimes the systems aren't right either. One of the best things you can do to make communication better is actually to look at the different types of communication there are, first of all, then engage the staff, just in a very simple kind of audit, it doesn't take very long, to say what's working and how things could be improved. And involve all the staff in that, not just teachers. Once those systems are in place, then you turn the tables round to the staff. They have a responsibility to use the systems that are in place. They can't complain that no one tells them anything if they don't use what's in place as well. And the final thing on communication is that lots of schools are going around very high-tech sort of solutions, kind of messaging to people, stuff on their virtual learning environments. The most effective thing you can do for a school is have a whiteboard somewhere central that you can write on. That works better than anything else. So look for the simple as well as the more high-tech things. Another factor is time and energy. Now, it's not unique to teachers that we all feel short of time, short of energy. But what is quite strange with the school calendar is that we cram things into the very end of terms, just before the holidays. And you find that just before the holidays, after people are getting tired and stressed and grumpy, that actually you've got parents' evenings, plays, sports days, all sorts of things, all at the same time. And what I found as a head was that there were certain weeks in the school calendar when I knew there would be an incident. You see on the board there, it's called the Battle of the Fruit Boxes. I actually left school one day and came back, and the staff weren't speaking to each other. In fact, they're having openly quite strong discussions in the corridor, arguing with each other. One member of staff had actually written to some supermarkets and asked for some fruit, exotic fruit, so our children could try different fruits. 2 trays came, one large, one small. One group of the school took the large box. The other group was left with the small box. They were so upset by it that the arguments lasted for 3 weeks. Wouldn't speak to each other at all. Spent my whole time running between and mediating. It was a small incident, but actually because people are tired, because people are stressed, it blew up. So another recommendation really is that look at the school calendars. See if you can move some of the events away. Why have a sports day at the end of a term when you can move it a month before? Moving stuff around so the burden isn't quite so tight at certain weeks. And then hearts and minds. Winning the hearts and minds of the staff is really, really important. I know lots of schools, lots of organisations have visions or mission statements, but normally they're written and then shoved in a drawer somewhere and forgotten about. I went to one school, staff morale was really, really high, but it was in really quite a difficult area. And when I arrived there to talk to the staff, there was CCTV cameras on the car park, barbed wire on the top of the fences, building was in a really bad state, and I was quite scared actually going in because it was just getting a bit dark, and I was a bit worried going in. But when I went inside, the staff were very, very, very much committed to the mission, to the vision. They saw themselves as the children's only hope of breaking out of their society there. And every success was celebrated. They had a wall where they just wrote down every success, even things such as this boy or this boy has been in school all week. You know, that was a success for them. They wrote to the local ministers, local celebrities, ministers as well, and basically asked for letters of support. And they were brought back and actually framed in the staff room. So they kind of had that sort of, we're going to beat the world sort of mentality. That really helped. And laughter. According to some studies, children laugh between 300 and 400 times a day. For adults, it's 15. Now, I don't know how accurate those studies are, but there is a big difference there. But for teachers and people who work in schools, you can tap into that. You can be childlike, childish with the children as well all day. And that will help with the stress, with morale. Schools can spend a lot of time having social events, having time to actually get to know each other as well, which helps. And professional development, training. Now, budgets in schools are getting tighter. A lot of training is very expensive, but the best training there is actually using the expertise within your school. A lot of the time, the school I was at, the last school I was at, we did an audit of all the skills, all the training that people had had in the past, all the previous jobs they've done as well. And then we actually used that to actually train each other. So people planned together, talked together, did little trainings together. If we didn't have the expertise within the school, we'd then actually share it with other schools. So we'd send people out and then we'd swap with others as well, which worked really well. And we had a case where we'd even mix and match the classes a little bit so that people who had jobs in the past, which were kind of relevant to teaching, they would actually go in and then teach the class on whatever that was. So we had one guy who was very, very dismissive of the younger children, kindergarten children, the way the teachers taught. And he used to work in a bakery. He was the one who put jam into the donuts. And the younger children were doing cooking and were making bread and things. And so we said, okay, you can go into that classroom now. And he went in there shaking when he came out. He was kind of never appreciated the demands of the class. One last thing on the PD, professional development, I went to one school once and they had a flip chart on the wall and it had really embarrassing things I want to learn about. And people had signed things on there anonymously. And there were things such as, how can I print double-sided on a photocopier? How do I use a laminator? Can somebody please explain the offside rule in football? And people would actually sign up for little workshops, and the staff would run these workshops as well. And it's a really cost-effective way, again, of training your staff. So, those are the factors of improving the morale in your school. I'll just leave you with a summary there. Thank you very much.